Hey everybody, greetings from West Virginia, USA. It's Monday, June 22nd, 2026. I'm down in my woodshed. I practically pulled an all-nighter last night. I did get about 3.5 hours of sleep, but I'm going to reflect on this weekend. And that's the word of the day, reflect, reflection. Yeah, because I think I've shared with, I tell everybody I'm from West Virginia, but I happen to live in Martinsburg, West Virginia, kind of out in the suburbs, more towards Hedgesville than Martinsburg, but I have a Martinsburg mailing address. And Martinsburg is in the eastern panhandle. And basically, I'm 1 hour from Baltimore and 1 hour from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. So all of our local television and news reporting and the sports teams and that are either Baltimore or Washington, and that's the local news, other than if you watch the national news. And as you know, I've come to call the news the views, because that's what it is, a viewpoint. So I went up after I spent a long day. Oh, what an incredible, beautiful weekend it was. Saturday was West Virginia Day. That's why I'm wearing this shirt. I had it on from there. And I told you guys in another video on that, did you ever wear the same shirt 2 days in a row? Especially, my little wood shop here, it can be 90 degrees outside. I got air conditioning in here, so I stay nice and cool and comfortable in the summertime. I got a radiator in here for radiant heat. I stay really roasty, toasty, comfortable, warm in the wintertime. And yeah, so I'm very comfortable down here. And I didn't get dirty and sweated up. And I'm working on all this stuff. So this is kind of a work shirt for me. And I have work shirts. You don't want to see some of my work shirts. This is my very best work shirt because I have, when I got paint and all that stuff on my hand and that, you get on there. I have shop rags, but it's a lot quicker. Just wipe it on the old shirt. And when it gets, and I even wash them. My wife, she doesn't get like that. So I'm trying to hurry up and get this project done. I've been carving on, and I got today and tomorrow to finish it up. It will be done. I guarantee you it will be done. I'm on the home stretch now, but I got a lot going on. And I told you on another person I was telling about, my brother said, "Hey, are you building that to scale?" I said, "I don't build nothing to scale. I'm not an architect. I'm an artist. This is my interpretation of what I look at the building, and this is a reflection of what I see." That's the word of the day, reflection. We're going to get to that real quick because this is going to be a short video. And so you people wouldn't know this building if you saw it, but you say, "Wow, he's put a lot of work into that." And I have. It started from just a chunk of wood. This is part of the wood that I cut off from that, and I ended up with this. I have a friend who's a incredible model builder. He builds race cars and sports cars and all that stuff. And it's amazing. He's very talented, very skilled at what he does. But he starts with a kit and all that stuff. This is from a chunk of wood. So it ain't the scale. And when you look at the real building, okay, and this is called Woodburn Hall. If you want to look it up on Google, Woodburn Hall on West Virginia University, very famous building. But if you're looking at the real building, I don't even know what the measurements are, but it's probably 150 feet from one end of the building to the other. It's a big building. And the clock tower in the front, practically rivals Big Ben in London. And I've seen Big Ben. I've been there. So if you try to carve out Westminster Abbey, let's say, or any famous building, the Kremlin in Moscow, St. Peter's Cathedral in St. Petersburg, Yeah, you could get all kinds of calculations of that. You know what an Amish level is? I I have a friend who's Amish. He was my brother-in-law. He's got a big deer camp up in the mountains, and we go hunting and up there and fishing in the springtime and all that. And he was putting an addition on there, and he hired the Amish up there. They're, you know, master craftsmen for sure, and builders, and they're out there with their work crew, and man, they're just going to town and click, click, click. They know what they're doing. And I said, you put the Amish level on that? He looked over Eli. He looked over me. He says, huh? I said, the Amish level. What's the Amish level? I said, come on, Eli. You're Amish and you don't know what the Amish level is? He says, I don't have a clue what you're talking about, buddy. I said, well, you see that board up there, and I'm looking at that one board, and I'm standing about 20, 30 feet, and you put your arm out like this, and you put your thumb up like this, and you got to make sure you use your dominant eye. And here's how you can test that. Put your arm out there, put your thumb up, focus on something, 20, 10, 15, 20 feet away, look at it with one eye, and look at it with the other eye. Whoa, it could be off that far. It's amazing. So you got to always use your dominant eye and don't divert. Otherwise, you're going to have lots of problems. And I said, so I put the eye up there like that. And I said, that board up there, I think you're about 1/8 of an inch too low on the right side. That's an Amish level. That's what I use to build this with. Okay, and just to show you, so when scale, when you look at the building, there's 3 windows across here on the top. The basement's down here. 1 floor basement, 1st floor, 2nd floor, 3rd floor, and they have 3 windows across here. They got 2 windows in here. Look at this. I can't even put my all right, I call it my nose picking finger. I can't put that in there. So this isn't the scale by any means, because I don't know what the scale is. But look at this. I was making some prototypes. I got all the windows and doors and that laying out now. Look at that. That's going to be a window. I'll put it on there. And yeah, here's a bigger one. So what scale is that? This is 8 inches long from one to the other. The building, let's call it 150. Do the math. Divide 8 inches into 150. It's 0.005. What scale is that? This is another window. I think I showed you guys the other day on this. Here's a chimney. Now, there's 10 brick on each side of that. So 10, 20, 30, 40 bricks on there. You know how many bricks would be on a real chimney like that? 200, 300. Big piece of limestone on the top, or sandstone. Yeah, for the cap. And flue pipe in the middle. We'll see. When I'm all done, and I'll show you a picture when I'm all done. And I put that up there. Even if you don't even know where this building is, you could be anywhere on the planet and say, whoa, there's a lot of detail in that building. That's a pretty neat looking building. You won't even know where it's at, but you'll say, that looks good. I can tell you, a lot of people in West Virginia, if they see this, say, hey, I've seen that building before. Where have I seen that building? A lot of people, they'll know like that. And that's a good reflection on what I created. Don't you think? The word of the day. So why am I talking about reflection? Well, I've told you guys this. I am so darn proud to be an American. I think it's a privilege. I do feel privileged to live here. And I wished all of you could come and experience how incredible beautiful United States of America is. And not that it's not beautiful where you live. There's pros and cons to every places. And I love to travel. And I've been to beautiful places all around the world. And that's great. And we want for the best for you. But I'm telling you, as an American, I reflect on what I see on the news, and I don't like the bashing that we get all the time. You know, I was back in the homeland with my two sons less than a year ago. It was an incredible, awesome trip. And I love, they're my family. We got relatives in all the Nordic countries. I'm so proud to be Swedish. I'm so proud to be a Viking. I'm so proud to be a Sami. Yeah, S-A-M-I, not Sammy, Sami. Yeah, I'm super proud. And the people are incredible, awesome, and I got relatives in all the Nordic countries, lots of them, for many generations. I'm only second generation in this country, but we can go back thousands of years back in the homeland. And I save news articles, headlines and all that stuff. Just as I was getting ready to go, we flew from Philadelphia to Copenhagen, and then jumped in a rental car and drove over the bridge into Malmo and motored all around Sweden and went into Finland and spent 3 days up in the Arctic. Just awesome trip. But before I was going there, this headline was, it was talking about the economy, and this was last summer, and things were going great. The headline says, things were going incredible, and then Trump happened. I'm thinking to myself, why? You know, God bless Donald Trump. He's a target of everybody wants to bash Donald Trump. He's an easy target to blame all your problems on Donald Trump. But guess what? He's got big shoulders. He can take it. And I'm thinking to myself, he ain't doing anything for our country that you wouldn't want the leaders of your country to do for your country. Maybe they should do some reflecting, look in the mirror, and maybe stop blaming Donald Trump and look in the mirror, look at your reflection. That's what I want to say. So because of the fact that I live 1 hour from Baltimore, 1 hour from Washington, all my local news and sports is either Washington, D.C., our national capital, or Baltimore. And I get plenty of it. And let's just say Washington and Baltimore, the majority of the people, their mindset isn't quite exactly the same as us hillbillies, mountaineers, and West Virginia. And that's okay. That's what makes this country so magnificent and so wonderful and great as it is. Because we don't always, everybody think alike, but you know what? I know they're true patriots in Virginia and in Maryland. And they love this country as much as I do. And we're all in it together. And that's what's so great about the United States of America. We all benefit one from the other. It's a partnership unlike anything else you can possibly imagine in the entire planet. There isn't anything like the United States of America. And I explained that in another video. You can go and watch it. You can't compare the United States to the EU. There's absolutely no comparison whatsoever. And I love the EU and all those countries, but they're not united like the United States of America. Yeah. And each state is uniquely different. So, reflection. I I woke up and I'm looking at the local news a little bit. Had my breakfast, and I'm back down here in the shed again because I got to get this cranked up and done. And what were they talking about on the news? The reflection pool. Now, I don't have to tell you probably what's going on with the reflection pool in the U.S. Capitol, Washington, D.C. You got the Washington Monument at the one end and the U.S. Capitol at the other. And how many of you guys watched Forrest Gump? If never, and Forrest was getting the Congressional Medal of Honor, and or Presidential Medal of Honor, I guess. And he's being awarded that, and he hears his girlfriend Jenny out there. She's happened to be there too, and she goes, "Forrest!" He's looking around. "Jenny, is that you, Jenny?" And he Jenny, and he jumps down off the podium and runs down the steps, jumps into the reflection pool. Now, he ain't going to drown in there. That thing is only 2 feet deep. And he's splish splashing across the pool. "Jenny, Jenny." Well, there have been a few people that have been in the reflecting pool from time to time. And, they kind of turn a blind eye to that, Hey, get out of the pool. You're not supposed to be in the pool. And, if you get caught vandalizing the pool, there's serious consequences. And like I've said in other videos, when you do something that you're not supposed to do, there are consequences, and you will have to suffer the consequences. So there have been a few people, I think since the reflecting pool was done, and that's what I want to reflect on, is the reflection pool. Because it's so easy to criticize today. People, they can find fault with anything. There will be people that will look at this and they'll say, "You got 2 windows on there and there's supposed to be 4. You only got 1 over here. This tower isn't exactly the way it looks. And, that clock is pretty darn little. In fact, I'm going to put bigger hands in there because it's so tiny scale. You can't see it from a distance of what time it is. So I got my next door neighbor. She's a whiz on the computer, and she can crank these out. And I said, "Hey, I need one that has bigger hands so that you can actually see what time it is when you're looking at it. You don't have to get the microscope out, because that's how." So you can criticize anything. And people, I think they like to criticize. And that's okay. That's what's so great and wonderful about the United States of America. You have the right to protest. You can criticize. I like to down here be in my woodshed and whittle and carve. And guess what? Whittle by whittle, I'm going to get this done. It will be done. By the end of the day, I'm going to have all my brick done and carved in there and painted. And yeah, it'll all be done. I'm going to have my windows put in. Going to have the chimneys put on. Yeah, it's coming together quick. But when I see on the news, one little old lady, God bless her, and I'd be hiding in that frog costume too that she was wearing. She was dressed up as a big frog. And when you look at that pool, the reflection pool, and it was American flag blue. And how awesome is that? It did look beautiful. It really did. And I don't know, here's West Virginia blue. It's almost as blue as this. And that would be an incredible, beautiful pool. But guess what? The pool is only, like I said, 2 feet deep. It's been 90 degrees out in the last couple of days. And the water isn't moving that much. It heats up, gets pretty warm, and then what happens? Algae. Why, that thing looked like a green algae frog pond back on the farm. Yeah. You ever seen a green slimy pond driving out in the countryside? I've seen plenty of them in my day. And that's what happened. Now, do you think President Trump or anybody who worked in that pool is happy and that's what they wanted? Of course not. Do you think they're upset? Yes, they are. Do you think they're disappointed? You betcha. Do you think it will get fixed? I bet it will. I'd have to venture to say that they're going to figure it out. I got a thought, going back to my Irish. No, I'm going to go back to my grandpa. When my grandpa, God bless him, the Viking, proud Viking that he was, and my grandma, she saw me, they didn't have to have refrigerators and that. They kept it in a box out in the tent out in the Arctic. All their stuff, that perishables and that. When my grandpa had a fruit cellar, we called it, and that thing we went out the back of his house and he had a bank up there a little bit, and in that bank he dug a hole in there, built a fruit cupboard in there. It was just like being in my little shed right here. And he had a door on there, just like going out the door, the outside. And when you walked in there, hottest day of the year, be 54 degrees in there. And I'm thinking to myself, why can't they put big circulating pumps in there, pump that water down into the ground, run it through just like a radiant heat, but put it down in there and cool off and put it back up in there. And instead of pumping in your swimming pool, you pump warm water in there, right? Well, here we can pump cool water in there. Would the algae grow in the cool water? I don't know. Just a thought. I'm no scientist, but I am valedictorian of my class. That would be summer school. I was the smartest of the stupidest. I got the highest grade, so I self-appointed myself valedictorian of summer school. Anyways, this lady, God bless her, she's talking and saying, she wasn't really protesting, but what a waste of money and all that stuff. And this doesn't reflect good on President Trump. It doesn't reflect good on the Capitol to have a green algae frog pond as our reflection pool. And we all know that. We all get it. And remember, I'm one of the 99. That's what I call myself. There's 350 million Americans in the United States. And when you look at, we're all busy doing our things. She's out there protesting in her frog costume, God bless her. I'm down in here whittling away on my little craft. We're all busy. So the majority of the people, we say, there's a problem there. They'll get it fixed. But it's so easy to complain. And it's so easy for the views to project a negative image on the news. And then people start thinking, man, what the heck is going on in that country? And that isn't reality. It really, really isn't. So think about that. Just like in West Virginia, when you come to West Virginia, in our mind, when we reflect on how beautiful this state is, why, we think you're almost in heaven. Yeah, that's how beautiful it is. Almost heaven, West Virginia. It's a pretty good song, wouldn't you say? Country roads, take me home to the place where I belong. West Virginia, almost heaven. Yeah, that's what we want to reflect to all of you'uns all over the world. Please come to West Virginia and see how incredibly beautiful it is. Now, the reflection pool. Think about this. Let's reflect on this. So they're bashing and criticizing President Trump, and he's done an incredible job to fix up Washington, D.C. And when you think, I reflect back when I was a little whippersnapper, and we used to go visit my grandma, my mother's mother, lived an hour away, and she lived in a little town called Silver Creek, New York, right along Lake Erie. And the main railroad tracks from New York City and Boston, all that, to Chicago and heading out west, travel right along the lake there. And back then, right within a mile of where my grandma lived, they had what we called hobo village. Today, they call them homeless people. But back then, we called them hobos. And they used to travel on the trains and up and down. But guess what? Yeah, they might have been down on their luck and all that stuff. But even the hobos, there's many, many, many very, very good people. They're part of the 99. Yeah, their luck in life is maybe they're down and out and don't have a home and they travel around on the rails back then. Or you got homeless people. Doesn't mean they're bad people. The majority of the people are good people. They're just, they got problems. And some of them need help. And my grandma, God bless her, and other grandmas in the neighborhood and that, whenever it was bake day and all that stuff, one day she's baking bread and the next day she's baking pies and the next day she's baking cookies and then she makes porridge and soup and bean soup and all that stuff. She would make an extra pie and she would put it out on a ledge she had outside her kitchen window for the hobos. They would come down and they were very respectful. They would help you out if they could, and they were very appreciative and very grateful. And she would put a pie out there. Peach pie and apple pie, cherry pie. Man, I can smell it to this day. It was so delicious. And they were grateful and thankful for that. And so, where am I going? It's easy to criticize with the reflection pool and point out that Donald Trump spent $14 million on a reflection pool, and look at it, it looks like a green frog swamp pond. Things happen. They're going to get it figured out. But guess what? I've seen it on the news now for 4 days here, and they bash it. But you know what they don't tell you? Reflect on this. President Obama, when he was in the Oval Office, in the White House, his administration, they shut the reflection pool down for 2 years. It was shut down, empty, drained, trying to fix it. They spent $34 million. And guess what? When they turned it back on, it still leaked. And it still had algae in it. And they had a lot of problems. But I haven't heard not one person say, oh, you know what? Donald Trump wasted our taxpayers' money, $14 million. And he spent 6 weeks. It took 6 weeks when they shut that down. They scrubbed the whole thing, industrial cleaned it, put the new American flag blue down. And yeah, it's disappointing. But they're going to figure it out. He spent $14 million, 6 weeks. President Obama, 2 years, $34 million. How's come the green frog who's out there protesting didn't mention that? There's a lot you can mention. So don't look to the bad. Maybe if you're complaining about something, you know what you should look at? Look in a mirror and see your own reflection and think about that. Wait a minute. Am I being a negative person? Why don't I look to the brighter side of things? Don't focus on the problems. Focus on what's good in life, because there's so much good. There's far, far, far more good than there is bad if you just look for it. So reflect on that. Thank you for your time. God bless America. God bless West Virginia. God bless every other state. We're coming up to our 250th celebration. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be incredible. I can't wait for the big parties. And if you get a chance to come, please come. You're welcome. We want to share the story with everybody on the planet. And I could go on and on, but let's just end it right there. Thank you for your time. Bye for now.